Hi, how are you? Can I get you a cup of coffee? Can I get you some tea? Would you like something cold to drink? I wish I could get that for you, but with this stay at home and this quarantine, I'm sorry. It's not going to work out today, but maybe sometime in the future we can have coffee together. Today I want to talk to you about a subject that is very dear to my heart. I'm going to talk to you about hospitality, but hospitality with a new look. Hospitality to me growing up meant mom setting out the best dishes, mom serving a wonderful meal, having people come to our house, and I just remember all the joy and the laughter and the stories, especially when we would have a missionary or an evangelist come and tell wonderful stories of the mission field. And I never wanted to go to bed at night because I wanted to hear all those stories because they were just so fun. And I just remember my mom being just the lady, the queen of hospitality. But it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to get your house ready, to get your meal planned, run to the grocery store, get everything going. It's a lot of work, but it is so worth it. And so I remember that, and that was hospitality to me growing up. And I think that that is a very good look at hospitality. But today, we're going to take a new look at hospitality. We're going to take a look at hospitality in our home, hospitality at the church, hospitality on our job, and hospitality with God. So first of all, when you're planning to have hospitality in your home, why not start with your family? If you are an extrovert and you are very comfortable with talking to people, having people over, that's a great thing. It may not be that hard for you, but if you're an introvert, it can be very difficult and it may get you out of your comfort zone. Do we have a choice whether we be hospitable? Is it a choice for us? Or is it something that we can say, no, I don't like that. Number one, I don't have a house. I don't have fancy dishes, and I can't cook. Is that your out? It's not. Let's look and see what the Bible says. In 1 Peter 4:1, we are told, show hospitality to one another without grumbling. Ooh, that's kind of hard, but we have to do it. It's a commandment. Titus 1:18 says, be hospitable, a lover of good, self-controlled, and disciplined. Hebrews 23:2, and I like this one, do not neglect to show hospitality to a stranger, for therefore some have entertained angels unaware. So hospitality is not a choice. We need to all show hospitality. But how do I show hospitality? What if I don't have a home that I can have people come over to? What if I'm living with a friend? What if I'm just living with a relative and I don't feel comfortable having people over and invited over? What if I can't cook? What if I don't have the funds? What if I can't do that? Hospitality with a new look. I want you to think about this. How does it make someone's heart feel? So when you look at hospitality as how does it make someone's heart feel, it's not so much about the house, the fancy dishes, the meal that you make, but how do you make someone feel? And when you start with your family, how do you make your family feel? Do you make them feel that you're glad they're all there? They're welcome there? They're happy to be there? You know how to do it at home. But now, let's take it to the second topic, and that being hospitality at my church. I can't cook a meal at the church. I can't invite people over at the church. We're at the church. But we have visitors, we have strangers, we have people that we don't know. And how do we be hospitable at the church? Number one, get yourself out of your comfort zone. Go find somebody that you don't know. The Bible calls them visitors or strangers. They may come in as a stranger, but have them leave as your friend. Let them know somebody cares. Somebody loves them. Sit with them in the pew. Have them sit with you. Make them feel welcome. Make them feel like they're a part and you are so glad that they are there. You can also do this with longtime saints that have been in the church. Maybe you haven't talked to them for a while. Have you been hospitable? And the bottom line, how did you make their heart feel? You know, we look at hospitality many times as service. I can serve you, so therefore I'm being hospitable, right? Service can be part of hospitality, but have you ever gone to a restaurant and been served a meal and nothing was ever said? Nothing was ever said like, I hope you enjoy your meal. We're glad you're here. Let me know if there's anything I can get for you. They just put the plate in front of you. Many times we've all gone through a drive-through, right? And you get handed a meal and then they turn their back and they never say, have a nice day, goodbye, hope you enjoy it. You've been served, but were you shown hospitality? How did it make you feel? Did you feel important? Did you feel accepted? Did you feel like somebody cared? So hospitality and serving are not always the same thing. But in our church, whether it be in our sanctuary or whether it be in our fellowship hall is a great place to show hospitality. Don't ever let somebody sit at a table by themselves. When you have a potluck, it's a great time to get to know people of your church. And maybe it's somebody you haven't talked to for a while. It's a great opportunity. Go sit with them. I find that some of our seniors in our church, I could sit and listen to their stories all night long because they have so many of them and they're so good. But you know, sometimes they have those stories and nobody to share them with. And I think sometimes that's why they go on because they've got a captive audience, but I love it. And you know what? I like how it makes them feel that I cared enough to listen because I really do. There are many ways that we can show hospitality at church. Now, I'm talking to a group of ladies that are mostly of our faith, Pentecostal, and I would like to give you an example of hospitality that was shown to me. One of those was there was no coffee, there was no meal. But there was a time that I was struggling with some things in my life, in my job, and I felt all alone. I felt like I was in a group of a big church, and I was sitting there all alone. But I had a friend that noticed. Do you know that we ended up staying at the church for over an hour after everybody had left? Pastor and his family were gone. Lights were turned out except for the one that was over where we were sitting, and sat and talked to me for an hour and prayed with me. And I walked home. I drove home. And in the car, my heart felt so good because I felt like I had a Christian friend that had taken the time to notice that I needed a friend. I needed somebody to talk to. I've had other situations where I've had someone to just come and put their arm on my shoulder and pray with me. Did they know everything? No, but God did. And God used them to be hospitable to me. So in the church, we are given many opportunities. Many times we can go out for coffee and we can have a meal together. But it's not all important. It was shared with me with a friend I just talked to the other day. She said that she had a friend that said, let's get together. And they ended up just going to one's house, opening up a can of Diet Coke and having a frozen pizza that ended up a little dark on the edges. Okay, it wasn't a filet mignon. It wasn't a homemade lasagna. It wasn't a beautifully decorated home, but it was somebody that cared enough to invite someone else into their space, into their time. Do we make people feel that way? Do we make them feel welcome? Do we just walk past them and forget about that people go through stuff? Before you come to church, as part of your pre-service prayer, maybe ask God to direct you. Who needs some hospitality today, God? Who needs to feel you today? And whose heart can I make happy? The third place is on the job. On the job is different because we are not offering a meal. We are not offering necessarily a service. But on our job, are you hospitable to a new employee? Are you hospitable to somebody that's new to your department? Whether you work in an office, whether you work in a hospital, maybe you're in the health field, whether you work in a factory, no matter where your job is, there is people that need you. There's people that need to feel welcome. They need to feel accepted. They need to feel like somebody cares. That can be you. Let God use you. Maybe another lady has joined your department and maybe things are all brand new to her and she's kind of, I'm scared. I don't want to make a mistake. Help her out. Maybe she needs help with the software. Maybe she needs help with the documents. Show hospitality. Let her go home that day feeling that's somebody that cares. That's somebody that took their time to help me when I was stuck, when I was confused, when I was frustrated. God will use you because hospitality, according to his word, is not a choice. When the Bible says show hospitality, we need to show hospitality. Let me give you an example of how my grandmother showed hospitality on her job. My grandmother was a cook at a Bible college, Apostolic Bible Institute in St. Paul, Minnesota. My grandma loved the students. I remember one time somebody saying, well, how does it feel because you're so much older? She said, I've been around young people so long, I haven't had time to get old. She was fun. She was a blast to be with. I loved my Grammy. But we never had Grandma at our house for Thanksgiving. The other holidays we always had her, but we never had her for Thanksgiving. And the reason why is Thanksgiving was the first holiday that many of the students were at school, and it was the first one that maybe they couldn't get home. They were homesick. They were saving their money just to get home for Christmas. And they were left at a school alone, without their family, dreaming of their family having a Thanksgiving dinner and everybody being together. But they were alone. My grandma recognized that. And as being the head cook, she saved money from her own paycheck all year long. And on Thanksgiving, she set up the dining hall with her own tablecloths, her own dishes, her own little salt and pepper shakers. She would do new centerpieces every year. She would be excited about when she'd come see us in the summer. She would get excited about saying, oh, I can use this for Thanksgiving dinner for the students. And she made them a homemade Thanksgiving dinner in the school dining hall with all the special things that she would have had at her home if she would have been serving Thanksgiving. Grandma became known to most students as Mom Wasco. She wasn't Sister Wasco. She wasn't Mrs. Wasco. She was Mom because she cared enough. And if you asked any of those students after they walked away, how did she make your heart feel? I think you know the answer. And she had no greater joy than to do that for those students. It was a lot of work. It was preparing a lot of turkeys and making a lot of mashed potatoes and gravy. But it made her feel so good. And God used her God used her hospitality for those students who were all alone. So again, I ask the question, hospitality is, how does it make your heart feel? The last area that I would like to talk to you about is hospitality with God. This can be one of the most important places to show hospitality. In our home, yes. At our church, yes. On our job, yes. But what about hospitality with God? Did your time today with him, did your devotions with him, did it make him feel good? Did you make God's heart feel good? Did you make him feel welcome into your space? Did you plan for your time with him? There's times that we are driving in the car and talking to God, or on our way to work, or just on a trip by ourselves on the way to the grocery store, and many times we talk to God, but we need to have that secret place, that time during the day that we just meet with God. Just you and him. That secret place to read his word, talk to him, let him talk to you, and let God feel a full heart. Make his heart feel well. Make his heart feel good. I would like to close with a story of my mom. My mom was a pastor's wife, and many years ago, she gave an object lesson to the ladies in our church. And what she did is she set up in the front of the church, she set up a dining room table. She brought in her best china, and I call it her best china. I don't want you to think that it was expensive, very expensive, gold-plated or whatever. It was her good china. But I found out later, it was bought with S&H green stamps at the grocery store and the gas station. Now it's vintage and it's a collectible, but that was her best. So she set up the table. She had her silverware. She had her goblets, her napkins, the tablecloth. The table was set beautifully. She talked to the ladies about etiquette, proper ways to set a table, proper ways to eat at a table, all the little etiquette things. And then she said, I want you to sit back and observe. She went in and she got some pots and pans out of the office next to the platform. She got some paper plates. She began to walk up and down the altar area. She was throwing a paper plate. She said, oh God, I love you today, God. And she was chewing gum and was just very easy with her prayers. Not like she had just noticed God was even in the room. And she began to give him her grocery list. God, I need you to do this, and God, I need you to do that, and God, I need you to talk to my son, and I need you to take care of this situation, and I need you to take care of that situation. And the whole time, she was throwing a paper plate as part of an example of her praise. She threw the kettle on the steps. There was a frying pan. And then she stopped. She went to the front of the altar. She began to raise her hands. She began to worship God from her heart. God, I love you. God, I'm so thankful we have this time today. I'm so thankful that you're here with me. Thank you, God, for taking the time to care about me. I want to read your word today, God. Talk to me through your word. Talk to me through what you want to say to me. And God, when we're done, I have a few things to talk to you about, but I'm so glad we have this time together. I remember the presence of God was so felt in that room. God moved in a mighty way. Ladies began to weep and to cry because the presence of God was so strong. And when my mom ended her object lesson, she turned to the ladies with tears in her eyes, and she said, ladies, I want you to know I want you to learn today, when you are serving the King of Kings, don't serve him your praise on a paper plate when you've got china in your heart. Serve God with your best. Serve God with, and you know what? If your best is Dollar Tree china, it's okay. It's your best. Give God the very best that you have. So the bottom line is looking at hospitality in a new look. I want you to think, how do my actions and how do what I do in hospitality, how does that make someone's heart feel? I pray that this touched you today. I pray that you will look at hospitality in maybe a little different way. Yes, we can use our china, but we can use our paper plates when it's appropriate. But when you're giving your best to God, give him the very best that you have. God bless you today.